All right, welcome back to the Road to 70.3 journey. And this episode has been a bit of a long time coming. The last 8 weeks or so, especially, have been very unlike maybe what they've looked like online with some of the training videos and the VO2 max testing and maximum exertion output that has really takes up most people's journey with triathlon training or marathon training or any of that stuff. And it has been a very interesting journey so far. It really started with my bike crash back in April and just really allowed the space for a lot of things to come up for me mentally and physically. And while I was able to get back to some decent running and cycling, I was just getting super fatigued and worn out. And it was through some meditation and really looking inward, asking why and what's going on, that I was finally able to listen to myself in a sense that I could realize that I have just been so chronically stressed for 5, 6, 7 years. And just not recovered. And because of that, I've had this energetic block in my system, and I just don't have the juice that I remember having back in 2015 when I did my first and only marathon and had been doing a bunch of trail running in Vancouver. And just, I remember what it's like for the energy to flow, for me to have, that life force, the vitality, and I just haven't felt that. And that's been causing me mental stress. It's constantly causing me physical stress, and it's really challenging. This sort of blockage is created by me holding on to trauma, holding on to wounds, being afraid to be myself, to express myself, and it's caused from a handful of events in my life, but really started from a super early age, and really just kind of had my Achilles heel tripped up, and realizing for the last 6 years or so, I have just been under chronic stress. My nervous system has just been on high alert, high lockdown, and generally speaking, for not a real legitimate good reason. There are things that come up, acute stresses like injuries and, things in relationship with family or partners or pets or, whatever it is. And, those are times where there's a legitimate amount of stress. But if we don't have our nervous system in a place where it can let go, rest and recover, rest and digest, then we hang on and we're never able to recover from those. And I've really realized just in the last couple of months that I just haven't recovered from the stress of my life for the last 5 or 6 years. And so, unfortunately for my triathlon training, I've not run for probably 6 weeks, maybe longer. I haven't swam for at least 2 or 3 months at this point, and I have been riding my bike a little bit, but really not pushing it. Nothing over an hour and a half, and no sort of maximum effort rides or anything like that. What I have done is really embraced acupuncture and working with an amazing practitioner here in LA, and it's something that I got a message from my plants and my plant medicine ceremonies a year ago about acupuncture, and I just never did it until about 6 to 8 weeks ago. And so I've been doing acupuncture every other week since then. I dove back into my meditation practice and committed to that more deeply. I got back to yoga as well, which has been a massive thing that I realized I missed so much over the pandemic while the studios were closed, and I just could not get in any sort of rhythm of doing it myself at home. So now that the studios are back open, I've been going 2 to 3 days a week, and it has just been so great holistically. And I was telling my partner Natalie after a class a week or two ago, like, I think if there was only one movement practice that I could do, it would probably be yoga. And likewise in terms of recommendation, just because it involves breath work and involves mindfulness and it involves core and balance and strength and endurance and meditation, and it's probably the most holistic and healthy movement practice there is. There's such a letting go and surrender, connecting to something deeper, the space that you can tap into in Shavasana at the end of class. I find so healing. I find it very cleansing in the hot studio as well. It feels like I'm wringing myself out, energetically, emotionally, and physiologically, and that is just so valuable. And as I'm talking about it right now, I realize I haven't been since Saturday, and I need to get back there, so I'm going to go today as well. But that practice has been just so good. So I've really taken my foot off the gas. I've really tried to listen to my body and my nervous system, and approach these last couple months as a nervous system recovery period. And I'm still not there yet, but I am getting better. I'm getting more sensitive and feeling it. And part of this nervous system lockdown that I've been under has been a roadblock as well to healing my knee injury and other sort of physical issues. Even from the bike crash, my left wrist is still not 100%. And if our system is in lockdown, our nervous system is on alert from everything everyone says to us, every text message and email we get at work, and that lack of safety, lack of security from within, then we don't allow our body to take that energy to heal the tissues in the deep way that we need. It's been interesting to see that, literally with pain and scarring from the crash on my shoulder, and things just not healing as quickly or as fast as I might expect them to, or as they would have when I had more of that flow of vitality. Another component is this episode. I've been wanting to do this for the last 6 to 8 weeks as well, and talk about this process, and the vulnerability of that has been challenging. A lot of people are like, oh, how's the training going? And I'm like, you know what, I haven't ran, I don't know how to swim still, and I'm doing a bunch of yoga and breath work. And it's not the things that you would typically train or focus on in terms of accomplishing any sort of triathlon goals, but for me it's what I need right now. And so for me, it's also been a huge win to be able to take my foot off the gas and be able to relax into listening, to be able to be more fluid with my training. In the past I would have been well, I better have another espresso or take a caffeine gel and go for this run, go for this ride, whatever it is, and just power through it. And I would have just been digging myself a deeper and deeper hole, which now I realize I've been doing for a number of years. So, it takes time and patience for my nervous system now to sort of recover and slowly come out of that hole. And I'm really trying to be as patient as I can, while still itching to get out there. But I just know if I go do that and I go too hard, it's gonna be setting myself back. And so it's quite an exercise in listening, quite an exercise in patience, and also faith. A big mantra that I've been using for the last couple months is just to myself, I trust in the wisdom of the universe, and I trust in the wisdom of my body, because our minds cannot figure out so many of these things, whether it's a chronic physical issue, a chronic mental issue. There's Michael Singer, the author of Untethered Soul and Surrender Experiment. He's just started a podcast, and the first episode is this beautiful metaphor of a bird in water, and as our minds. And our mind is what's caused this issue, and it's not going to be able to fix it, at least from the same consciousness. And so it's really about the surrender and trust into something greater, something beyond the mind. Our mind is so powerful, and it can attach onto things and block things, but it's not the ultimate healer. And Mother Earth and the universe is that system, that natural organic fluid being of our planet and our universe is the ultimate healer. It's always working towards homeostasis no matter how much we stress it out. And our body is just a small version of that. So for me, a big part of that mantra in the process has been learning to trust beyond myself and within myself. It's like, okay, the universe and Mother Earth are holding me, and I trust that the wisdom of the cycles of life, are going to unfold in my favor if I can get out of my mind and be held by that. And then within myself, trying to feel more embodied in the sense that the natural wisdom of my body is so much greater than what my mind is capable of. We go to sleep and wake up. We go to the bathroom. Our cuts heal, our hair grows, our lungs and heart keep going. Like, we never have to think about any of those things, and they're some of the most magical aspects of being a human being. If you try to control all those things with your mind, you're just gonna be unhealthy, unhappy, and it's not going to be a fun experience. So, the goal for me, and I think a lot of people, is surrendering some of that false sense of control back to trust and surrender into the wisdom of what we are naturally going to do and be capable of. And so it's not so easy, but it's been a huge shift in terms of my perspective and my triathlon training. It's been interesting, and I feel like there's still part of me that is mentally like, okay, well, if I surrender to my attachment around these things, at some point my body is just gonna click back on, the nervous system's gonna relax, and then I'm gonna be able to have that flow of life force energy and vitality just come back to me at any given moment, and I'll just be able to go out and run faster, further, and cycle harder, and eventually learn how to swim properly and all that stuff. So, that also is a blockage to it actually happening. So, as hard as it is to surrender this idea of what I want to happen and how it'll happen, that is the key to it happening in however is meant to happen. And that is one of the biggest challenges in my life these days, I think. And I really embraced another part of this journey the last couple months was going on a full vegetarian diet up until a bit less than a month ago. So I did about a month and a half of full vegetarian diet, just to try and help with this sort of fluidity, ease of stress on the body, and it felt quite good. And it's been hard as well without the lack of hard exercise to sort of see my body maybe look a bit softer, not feel as strong. But again, it's like that surrender to what is needed, and it's the softness, the gentleness, the mothering of myself, the holding of myself by myself and by Mother Earth. That is what I need, and that's a place of softness. It's not a place of shredded, ripped hardness. And I'd be lying if I said that part of the reason I signed up to do triathlon wasn't to just be slim and shredded and look good, and as a result feel good. But now I'm like, okay, well, in reality, I need to feel good. And when I feel good, and when there's that flow of energy and vitality, I'm gonna look however I need to look, and it'll probably be good, because I try and sleep, and I try and eat good food and move my body and keep my mind in a good place. And so it's been interesting. So all this sort of led up to doing 2 nights of ayahuasca ceremonies on the solstice last month, and it just felt like such beautiful preparation, and the 2 nights were absolutely magical, extremely healing, and I really was able to shed some deep wounds and beliefs that I will go into on a longer solo podcast, which I'm going to record in the next few days. And it's been interesting because before that, all the work I'd been doing, I was noticing significant shifts in my nervous system. My HRV that I've been tracking during my sleep on the Aura Ring has been incredible. And even though I haven't slept that much longer, the recovery during those sleeps was so much better, and I was waking up feeling refreshed and energized. And the first week and a half after the ceremonies, I was just in a state of bliss and feeling so good and free, and like really felt home within myself in a new way I never felt. But along with that, I also feel like a bit of a newborn baby in a lot of respects. And a week and a half into after the ceremonies, I kind of forgot that a little bit and got into a place of contracting and trying to protect myself emotionally. And it was crazy to see that my HRV just tanked and my sleep tanked, and I've just been feeling exhausted. And so, there's so many factors and everything is so interconnected, and I'm trying to look at the picture as holistically as possible and connect as many of these dots as possible. It's never one thing. And it's been a really challenging week and a half, but I feel like this week I've turned the corner a little bit, and last night my HRV bumped back up a little bit, which has been really promising, and I feel quite good about it. And I'm gonna need a couple days off, I think. It's been just full on life on top of this chronic nervous system fight or flight lockdown. And I don't, because of that, I've not been able to take any time off. My system hasn't been able to relax. It hasn't been able to do that. So whether it's this weekend or in the coming month, I definitely am planning on taking a minimum of 4 to 5 days to just be, reconnect with nature a little bit, get into a forest, get to the ocean, sleep as much as possible, and just really rest and not check emails or post anything. And there's a really great episode that happens to coincide with this calling from my own self by the Purple Patch Fitness podcast and founder, which is really about this and how we do need this from time to time. So it was another great push and nudge on that front. And I just feel so grateful that, I have so many beautiful mentors and teachers that I know, and some that I don't know that I can listen to their podcast or read their books. And yeah, it's I'm feeling more and more held, but ultimately I need to be able to hold myself. So when life stresses come up, I can stay centered. I can weather the storms without having to go into a nervous system lockdown again and feel so rocked by little storms of life. And so it's building this resilience emotionally and spiritually in a new way that is amazing and such a great opportunity that I feel so grateful for, but is also quite challenging. And so that is how it's going. That is how my training is going. I'm still in nervous system recovery at this point. I'm going to start adding a couple of really slow, easy, shorter runs back in and continue with a couple of rides per week, as long as I can get my bike out of the garage, which we have lost our opener for. So right now, maybe that's a sign from the universe that I need to take it easy on the bike as well, as it's safely locked away from me at the moment. But yeah, it's going to be, I'm glad I have a solid runway still on this journey to the 70.3 race in December. And I've got an Olympic distance race in October. So really that'll be, the peak, see what sort of fitness I can build by then. But the reality is I need to unlock this vitality within my body. And that's a mental, physical, nutritional rest process. And I'm going to continue to utilize the teachers and tools I have from breath work, sleep, diet, acupuncture, yoga, to try and nurture that as much as possible within me. And I am very excited about this process. It feels very much resonating with what I need at the moment, and I'm excited for that day when my system is like, okay, you can put the e-brake off and take this beautiful, magical machine of the human body for a ride again. and not just be like grinding my way through it. I feel like it's not that far away now if I keep properly listening to myself and honoring that voice, honoring my you know true needs. But yeah, that's how it's going. And maybe some of you can resonate with that. But honestly, it just feels good to share this, and it's something I've been wanting to share. And I'd be lying if part of my ego isn't like, people are gonna think that I'm blowing it on this journey. But it's a journey, and healing and growth is never linear. And this is not linear in terms of a triathlon training program that I had signed up for, but it's the journey of life. And yeah, I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful for those of you that have been asking how my training is going. Hopefully this can explain it in a little bit better way, and I'm excited to share the next one of these as well, and continue to connect with people around the world on their own journeys, whether it's swim runs or marathons or triathlons. It's been awesome to grow a little community around this, and inspired by everyone out there, pushing and learning and growing and healing and evolving. That's all we can do, and the more we can do that for ourselves, the more we can share that with our community and family, and the more we can share that with the world. So I'm excited to be on this journey with everyone as well. Thank you.